Okay, do we have anybody outside of Smith County? Where from? Where?
Henderson.
Henderson County?
Wood, Upshur.
Wood, Upshur, anyplace else?
Cherokee.
Cherokee?
Henderson. Gregg County and Harrison County.
Gregg County, that's coffee, okay, but he wouldn't got more for us, so.
Okay, because of the turnout this morning, we are going to go ahead, we decided to go ahead and do one of these classes at night, probably about halfway between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I wanted to announce that, and there was something else, and I should have written it down. Lieutenant Milton will probably talk to you about it later. I'm going to also, if you can remember this or write this down, all you got to remember is smithcountysheriff.com, www.smithcountysheriff.com. That's our sheriff's office website. We're going to post some of these PowerPoints on there where you can go refresh your memory on some of it. And also, Lieutenant Milton will explain this later. We have a program that you download to a smartphone or whatever called Tip 411. And he's going to tell y'all how to go about getting, it doesn't cost you anything. And you can send questions into us, and we can make a group just for open concealed carry, and that's the group you'd want to join, and you can send us questions. And for those from Upshur, Gregg, Wood, Harrison, or Henderson, we'll let y'all get on it too. But I'm going to be leaving here a little bit, but I want to tell you before I leave, we really appreciate you coming and appreciate all the great questions. We just want to hold them to the end, and I can tell you these two guys here, Lieutenant, and then we got Lieutenant Paul Black, our Criminal Investigation Division Lieutenant back here. They'll answer all your questions before they leave here today. They may say something to me Monday about, we didn't share if they maybe want to claim overtime because they didn't get out of here so late, but that's good.
For handgun license, remember that you still need to have a driver's license to rent or operate a vehicle. A driver's license on a handgun license is still not a valid driver's license. Alright, this bill does not affect the types of identification required to access airport premises or pass through airport security, nor does it affect Texas Government Code 411-205, which states that if a license holder is carrying a handgun on or about the license holder person when a magistrate, which is a judge, or a peace officer demands that the license holder display identification, the license holder shall display both the license holder's driver's license or identification certificate issued by the department and the license holder's handgun license. A person who fails or refuses to display the license identification as required by this subsection is subject to suspension of the person's license as provided by Section 411-187. It's the same thing that you just had with the concealed handgun license. You still need to provide both forms of ID. Again, handgun license is a valid proof of identification. You must have a driver's license to operate a motor vehicle. No other form of identification can be used to operate a motor vehicle. And during the course of an officer's investigation, an officer asks for a handgun license from the open carrier or concealed carrier. The carrier must present either the driver's license and the handgun license, or the identification and the handgun license. Alright. After I've been dispatched to a call, the call comes into dispatch. There's a guy with a gun over here at this business. He's wearing it on his hip. And I show up on scene. Can I legally disarm you? For those who vote yes, raise your hand. For those who vote no, raise your hand. Alright. Terry versus Ohio. Everybody heard of that? Terry versus Ohio is a Supreme Court decision. It was a landmark decision by the United States Supreme Court which held that the Fourth Amendment prohibition stops a suspect on the street and frisk him or her without probable cause to arrest if the officer has a reasonable suspicion that the person is committing, or is about to commit a crime, and has a reasonable belief that the person may be armed and presently dangerous. I've talked with the Assistant District Attorney's Office here in Smith County. The way they look at it, since you are open carry, they kind of see as that you are openly armed and presently dangerous. Okay? Hang on. Just for the simple fact that you're displaying the gun, okay? That's where it comes in. But we're really, and this is the defense attorneys, after I left, some defense attorneys gave this district attorney this code. It's Texas Government Code 411207, which states a peace officer who is acting in the lawful discharge of the officer's official duties may disarm a license holder at any time the officer reasonably believes it is necessary for the protection of the license holder, officer, or another individual. The peace officer shall return the handgun to the license holder before discharging the license holder from the scene if the officer determines that the license holder is not a threat to the officer, license holder, or another individual. If the license holder has not violated any provision of this chapter or committed any other violation that results in the risk of the license holder, we give everything back to you. Okay? So, if I get a call on you, and I'm in the legal discharge of my duties, somebody called in on you, I'm there, I can disarm you. Government Code 411207 says I can, for the simple fact, protection of the license holder, officer, or another individual. Now, there's ways of going about doing that, okay? I can be an a-hole about it, but that's not the way to conduct business. Alright? What we don't want to happen here is basically to get into a pissing match if you don't feel like you need to do that, okay? If you don't want to hand it over to the officer, suggest, hey, can I put it in my car? And then step away from the car and you can go talk with the officer about it. Alright? We had a question over here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, when you have to disarm someone, would you rather, as the officer, get the gun out of the person's holster or have the person remove it?
Me personally, I would rather do it. Sergeant Cosling's probably the same way. I don't know you from anybody else. Do you know me from anybody else? If my intent was harm you, would you be able to see my intent? Okay. Right. We're going to tell you why we got called out there on you. Okay? But we're not just picking you randomly out of the crowd just to mess with you, okay? Yes, sir.
You might cover this in a little bit, but what if in the instance that you're at night time driving, you're driving down the highway, not necessarily in town, but you're driving down the highway, say 155. You got a light out and you're stopped, whatever.
Okay.
Okay. All right, what then? I guess that danger that I would feel is well, am I really being stopped by an officer? Or might this be someone else that's portraying themselves to be an officer?
Okay.
And they want to do me harm?
All right, the question is, you're driving at night time, you have a license out, you get pulled over, is that person that's pulling you over an officer? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's
okay. You have several options. You can pull over, you can call dispatch, like, hey, I'm being pulled over on 155 South, as you suggested. Do you have an officer that is conducting a traffic stop? No, don't step on it, it's not the answer. You'll have a bunch of lights behind you, then you'll have no doubt that the police are behind you. Okay. You can call that. Okay, you can call the dispatch number, it's 566-6600. And you can say, hey, I'm being pulled over. Do you have an officer conducting a traffic stop on this road?
Give that number one more time.
Does that answer your question?
Well, that sort of answers it because, you know, by the time I get that number, everything's going on in your head and you don't know what to do, or you know, you're going to forget the number by the time the officer's at your door and he's knocking on your window. Now, do I roll it down? Do I go down?
Most deputies in the county, they're going to have a tan shirt, blue pants with a yellow stripe on it. They're going to have their duty belt on. You will see their badge. They will have a radio either hooked up to their shoulder. I carry it on my chest. You'll see it's a little bulky because we're wearing vests. We'll have a big flashlight. Plus the lights on the car and the lights. Now I understand other people can't put lights on their car, but most of the vehicles you will see in Smith County will be a white Tahoe or a white Impala with blue stripes on them. And it might be hard to see at nighttime. The only other vehicles that are different, we have some supervisors and our CIT people, which mess with people that have mental issues. They have black Tahoes with brown striping on them. Okay? Yes, sir.
What about proceeding to a well-lit area and then pulling over?
Okay.
Or do you need to pull over immediately?
Alright, like you said, you can pull over to a well-lit area and then stop there. That way other people can see you and you can call in. Alright, casual contact. If I just I'm just going into some business and I casually contact with you. Just go up and talk to you. This is still a gray area. Alright, the DA himself come in there and said, he's not real sure, they weren't really giving any clearance, nobody's giving any real clearance. This is one of those gray areas that they're waiting on the Attorney General's opinion on. Or we're going to have to wait until the next legislative update. Alright? But if at some point while I'm asking you, or I'm asking somebody who I think maybe he does or doesn't have his handgun license, does everybody know who the instructor was that taught their handgun license? Does everybody know where they took their handgun license at? Yeah. Simple questions that you should be able to answer, correct? If I'm just in my casual contact and I come in contact with you, and you're showing all the signs of nervousness, you're looking behind you, okay? It might not be that exaggerated. And I start developing reasonable suspicion or probable cause that you don't own a license, then we've crossed over into what we talked about just earlier on Texas Government Code 411207. Okay? If you have any questions, you can contact us, you can contact your DA's office. Yes, sir.
I just want to clarify what you're saying, because this seems to be a real issue going back and forth. If I'm walking down the main street, downtown Tyler, and I'm open carrying, a law enforcement officer can or cannot come up to me if I'm not doing anything else and ask to see my concealed handgun license.
That's still the gray area. Okay? I can't.
So until that's clarified, what's going to happen here?
I would just advise, hey, when you talk to him, and he's like, hey, I have my handgun license. You're like, okay. Everybody has your handgun license, right? It doesn't take 5 minutes to hand your license over, put your firearm away, me run you through dispatch. He's clear, he or she is clear. They are a handgun license holder. And their license holder is, and their license is valid. It's not suspended, it's valid. Here you go, sir, have a good day. In less than 5 minutes, you'll be out of there.
So you answered my question as there doesn't have to be any probable cause. You can just come up to me.
That's, when I talked with Matt Bingham, he says it's still a gray area, but if once a person has developed reasonable suspicion or probable cause, then yes. Okay, but you've got it. It's a gray area. We're still waiting on the Attorney General's. When I taught this legal updates, all the other officers in my class are having the same questions. Okay? So, yes, sir.
Sheriff's Office deputy will not stop you after January 1st just for that reason alone. If you're suspicious for some other reason, you know, they tried to get that in the legislation where we couldn't do that, which would have been the wrong thing to do. That way we couldn't differentiate between you and a convicted felon or anyone else. And I can tell you, my first job is to make sure these men and women go home at the end of their day. So it's their safety, the safety of the public is what's going to outweigh anything else. But we're not going to be out here picking on concealed or open carry firearms people.
Hey guys, please, and I'm going to pull the lieutenant on Stockwell. We've got to keep it going because some of you are going to need to get out of here, okay? I promise you, we will not leave until we've answered everyone's questions, okay? But I want to tell Stockwell to keep it going so we can finish the material that we want to finish because we've still got another half of it to go, okay? So if you will, just hang on to the questions. I promise you, we will stay here until your questions are answered, okay?
All right, we're going to move on to liability issues. You had a question earlier, ma'am. This is part of it. All right. You need to worry about the type of holster you're going to use, whether it be a belt or shoulder holster, and what type of retention we're talking about. If you don't know when I say retention, you need to look that up. Retention is how well you can keep it. All right? You expect me to be able to hold on to my firearm along with Sergeant Coslin if somebody tries to take it, correct? Now, as a responsibility of a handgun owner, a handgun license holder, that's your responsibility also. If you can't do that, you need to think about giving your license up. Because there's nothing worse than having a bad guy take your firearm from you and shoot somebody else. Pardon my French, but that's going to be a shitty day. Okay? I'm not telling you to not open carry, but I want you to consider what you need to do when you decide to open carry. We've already talked about the type of holster you use, the type of retention. When somebody walks into a business and their job is and their idea is to rob it or do some harm to somebody, and you carry that on your hip or in your shoulder, you are the first target that they see. Think about France. That happened yesterday. You are the first target that they see. You will be the first target that they kill. Everybody, I go out to eat, and the guys I eat with will sit down. And everybody's like, oh, I want to sit next to y'all. Y'all the safest place. That is absolutely wrong. Who is the first person they're going to try to take out? This guy right here. Okay? You have now turned in this guy right here when you open carry. I'm not trying to discourage you. I want you to understand the responsibility you have. Bad guys can grab your firearm, commit a crime depending on your level of gun retention and your holster retention. If you're not strong enough to put your hand on that gun when his hand's on there and keep it in your holster, you need to think about that. If you decide to open carry the first few months after January 1st, 2016, somebody's going to get call on you and you're going to be contacted by law enforcement. That's just the way it is. Sergeant Coslin talked to a lady yesterday, wanted to know what we were doing in here, law enforcement, what class we were taking. She had no earthly idea that open carry was about to happen in a little over a month. Okay? Law enforcement, remember which side? Most people are right-handed. Most males are right on their right side. So when they ask, like, hey, I'm Deputy Stockwell, Smith County Sheriff's Department, holder, and you go to grab your license, what's that look like? I've already got my hand on my holster with the hood down, contacting somebody that has a gun. So I don't know your intentions. I don't know that Sergeant Coslin made contact with you yesterday and pissed you off, and now today I'm the guy that you're going to take that man out on. Okay? So, just, hey, I got my handgun license. Everybody understands that. Some liability issues you need to think about. Section 411-208 states a court may not hold the state, an agency or subdivision of the state, an officer or an employee of the state, a peace officer or qualified handgun instructor liable for damages caused by a cause of action, and damages may not be brought against the state, an agency or subdivision of the state, an officer or employee of the state, peace officer or qualified handgun instructor for any damage caused by the holder under this chapter. The department is not responsible for an injury or damage inflicted on any person by an applicant or license holder arising in relation to have arisen from the action taken by the department under this subchapter. You are liable for every round that you shoot, just like I'm liable for every round that I shoot. Everybody remember Spider-Man? Great power comes great responsibility. You have a great responsibility when you decide to carry. Y'all need to realize that. Alright. Since we're running a little behind, I'll take the questions on the next break. But this is a growing process. Other states have enacted open carry. Within the first year, we're going to have a learning curve. We're going to go through growing pains. There are defense lawyers waiting to take stuff up to the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. When they decide on stuff, it will filter down. We as in law enforcement will get emails explaining that case and what it means. Give us a little bit of time. We've all got to work together. Common sense will apply and we'll get through this. All right? Anybody have any questions?
Guys, we got coffee back there. One thing I'd like to say, I've been a cop for 30 years. Some of us have been doing this for 30 years. Can you imagine how different this is going to be for us? So we're going to all have to work together. You know, in a few years, it's going to be common. It's not going to be any big deal. The new guys coming up, the young guys coming up, it's just going to be common. But me, can you imagine the first time I walked down the street and there's somebody walking beside me with a gun, and I'm going, I mean, really, you know, so keep that in mind, because like Justin said, it is gonna be a learning curve, and we're gonna have to work together on this, and trust me, we are nothing without y'all, okay? We've got to have your help, and this group here is such a great group because you're here on Saturday morning, so y'all can help us, and be understanding. And granted, our guys are gonna have to be understanding also, and that's gonna be a learning issue too, because trust me, I remember, now, I don't want to offend anybody, I can remember the first time at Tyler Police Department we hired a female officer. And we were all like, see that? Yeah, what, you know, so I mean, now we got guns walking down the street. So it's going to be a learning curve, and we're all going to have to adjust to it.
You want to have them take a break, or? No. All right.
That's wrong. Well, I guess they really like me. They can't wait to hear me.
Here, I want to introduce him. Daryl Cosman has been with us a very short time at Smith County. He's a patrol sergeant now. He's retired from Dallas PD. How many years were you there?
30 years.
And he's done everything, been everything, and seen everything, okay? And plus he's really tall, so I'm afraid of him. You know, so he's going to talk really good about it, all right?
And here's a chance to look at my butt again.
But Daryl is, he's going to, I can tell you right now, he's going to be very involved in our training. He and Justin did a lot of work putting this program together. I think, and Daryl can tell you a little more, so I know he's on the SWAT team, he did training at the academy. Were you in CID and all that kind of good stuff?
Did all that good stuff.
Okay. So, without further ado, so we can get going, we'll do that. Again, let me emphasize, I promise you we will not leave here until all your questions are answered. So don't worry about it if you have something that you just... Daryl, you want this?
No, I don't want that. If you can't hear me in the back, too bad. I hate microphones. I don't want to talk about it. And I will tell you now, I move around a lot. All right? I get into it when I teach because I don't want to bore anybody. My wife tells me I'm extremely loud. I got a big mouth. I love you, honey. She's actually here today, so I got to behave myself. So if you have any problem hearing me, just let me know. All right, what we're going to do now, we're going to transition into the civilian response to active shooters. Now then, does active shooters happen in our society?
Yep.
Anybody watch the news last night?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's funny. We were doing this training yesterday. We did a class in the morning, we did a class in the afternoon. In the afternoon class, one of the people in the front row got a text. Said there's an active shooter going on in Paris. There's an attack in Paris. As we were doing our training here. I was watching the news when I got home last night and had Fox on. And the commentator for Fox was talking about, this is an attack the world has never seen before. It's happened before. And we're going to show you that incident, that this exact attack that happened in Paris yesterday with these multiple teams of attackers, these terrorists, has happened in the past. And guess what? It's going to happen again. Sure. The question is, what are we going to do about it? So that's what this class is about. We're going to, let me find my clicker. I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about. Disaster response psychology. This might not be something you're very interested in, but it's important that you understand what's going to happen to you psychologically when hit with a sudden, extremely stressful situation. How you're going to respond. If you know what's going to happen to you and you understand that, you can better prepare yourself to deal with it and combat those reactions and stay in the moment, which is what we need to do, right? When everybody else around you is losing their heads, you need to keep yours, right? That's what we're going to talk about. What happens to us under stress and what we can do to correct it. Also, we're going to discuss some active shooter events, such as what happened yesterday in Paris, France. We're going to discuss civilian response to active shooter. At the end, we're actually going to get into the area when this event happens. And we're going to talk about your responsibility then, what us as law enforcement would like to see you do, and when we show up, what you damn well better do, because we don't know who you are. So we get a call about this active shooter,
We get there and you've already taken care of the problem, but I walk in and there you are standing over with a gun shooting this guy. Who's my active shooter? You are. See the problem? So we're going to talk about that. Does anybody know what that means?
Yeah, buddy.
Is it a high school in Milton, Colorado, or is it an event? It's an event now, right? And most of us are older in here. We were around. We saw the news. We knew what happened when Columbine happened. We actually have some officers that they were born then, but they're still running around in diapers. So Columbine doesn't have the same meaning to them as it does us because they weren't there to experience it. A lot of people were. Why did the police wait outside so long? Why did they go in and stop that? Back then, our training was, and I was on the SWAT team in Dallas. Our training was, we have a hostage situation basically, and we respond as such. Patrol gets there, they secure the scene, call SWAT, let SWAT deal with this. This is a very bad situation. We had never experienced this before in the United States, an attack like this. We never trained for it. We felt that what we had trained for. And those tactics didn't work, it died. So we learned day after, that didn't work.